and was in a corner doing something you wasn't supposed to be doing?
You will tell it.
No, somebody come to tell me.
Okay.
I gather that. I value that. I'll pay for that. Come, tell me. I know so many things I shouldn't know, and they all know it. They all know it. Why? Because you don't make me the villain. Not the guy that raises black children and ain't never done a hard drug in his life and don't have no stories of doing nobody dirty. And they'll just go out and they'll lie. The industry doesn't mess with Katt because he didn't show up for the studio. No studios have ever said that. Look at my IMDb. It will show you that no studio has ever lost money with me on the script. They're far too much work for somebody to come years later and try to tag along just for their own self-aggrandizement.
Why didn't Cube set the record straight? Terry Crews could have set the record straight. Mike Epps could have set the record straight. Why none of them set the record straight?
That's what you were supposed to ask him when he told you those lies that
but
no
I didn't
one's
know it
ever
was a
heard.
lie.
Right, but he's telling you something no one's ever heard of. Nobody has ever heard, oh, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon was in a movie, and somebody said, y'all should switch roles. Like, this is a business.
But that's the thing, Katt. Normally when people will give you information, I'm thinking I'm hearing it for the first time, and they're giving information no one else knows or has ever heard. So I'm taking them at face value.
These are like, this is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless. When Mark Curry was touring with him 25 years ago, he was making $3,000 a show in cash and doing 5 shows a week. They just tell the stories. Thanks to my wife, I'm where I am. You said that about the first wife. You forget that? You told us it was her. Then you went and married somebody else that think like a man. Like, what are you talking about? They think they can rewrite history.
Monique, let me say this, and then the floor is yours. Now, y'all know I can go toe to toe in a one-on-one joking battle with just about anybody. But I can tell you right now, I ain't gonna never wake up on the wrong side of the bed and try to go against Katt. Monique, the floor is yours.
What the hell do I say? That was so much. Okay. Let me start by saying this. Okay. Disclaimer. I am a fan of Katt Williams.
Okay.
I'm also a fan of Steve Harvey.
Nothing wrong with that.
I'm also a fan of Kevin Hart.
Nothing wrong with that.
One of my biggest pet peeves in life is, listen, you don't have to like a person, right? But one of my biggest pet peeves is don't discredit someone. So for me, I don't like when people discredit other people. Whether you like them or not, you can't take away from their talent, their success, their work ethic, etc. I like Steve Harvey and I like Kevin Hart. Period. Hard stop. I believe everything that Katt Williams is saying. You know what I'm saying? I two things can be true at the same time. And I mean, listen, I don't know what's going on with Katt. I don't know if this is his year. He just said, you know what? I'm sick of being quiet. But he came with vengeance. I mean, he laid it all out. And a lot of what he said is believable. You know what I mean? And it makes you kind of question certain things in the industry and things like that. Now the whole like so-and-so's not funny, so-and-so's not funny. To me, it's all subjective. There's different types of comedy that appeals to different types of people.
It's artwork. It's artwork.
It is what it is.
Artwork appeals to different people.
Exactly. So for me, I'm not judging anything that y'all have said, but for me, I don't like when people say, oh, so-and-so's not funny. Eddie Murphy's not funny. Chris Rock is not funny. Kevin Hart's not funny. I just think it's all subjective. He's not funny to you, but he's funny to someone. I just feel like you can't take away from someone's talent. But, you know, look, I rocks with Katt Williams. I always have. I've always wanted to see him on top. And I respect that he has stayed true to himself in an industry in which most people fold. You have to respect that. you have to respect that he said, no, I'm not doing this. I don't agree with that. Take that out the script. You're not taking out the script. I ain't gonna do it. Sorry. Do you know how hard it is to pass up on some money as a black actor in Hollywood, to pass up on some money?
Well, here's the thing.
That's morals, that's values, and a lot of people lose that in that industry. So I have nothing but respect for Katt Williams, honestly.
Now, Monique, here's one thing I will say regarding Katt and versus actors.
Okay.
One thing you have to be going into Hollywood is multifaceted, or can I say multi-talented? The more multifaceted you are, the less susceptible you are to have to take bullshit from people. Now, Katt didn't have to take some of those roles because he is a talented comedian, and whether they pay him or not, he's still going to get paid to go on tour. The problem is a budding new actor, if all you do is act, you either going to do what they tell you to do or you're going to keep starving. Having said that, I'll give you a chance to rebuttal, and Larry's next.
Me rebuttal.
Yeah.
I don't really have a rebuttal. Can I ask y'all a question though, based on something that Katt said? And I think I know what y'all are gonna say. Do y'all believe him with the theory that Kevin Hart was an industry plant? Can you see it? What do you think?
Say that again.
Do you agree with Katt Williams' statement that Kevin Hart was an industry plant in Hollywood?
I don't know what he means by that.
Basically, the powers that be plucked Kevin Hart and said, you know what, we're going to make you the next big thing, and basically laid a red carpet platform for him to have his success.
I mean, that happens with a lot of places. A lot of people are different. I mean, there's certain young kids that get plucked out and they're going to say they're going to be the next big, child actor. This person's going to be the next big whatever. I think people find folks that they think have all the elements to do something, and they're like, we're going to foster their career. I mean, it used to be that way at everywhere. I mean, it didn't used to be that was a phenomenon. They used to actually have artists in development. They used to have actual people that developed artists.
Facts.
And if you look back at the early days of like Social Def Records, they had a house where they lived, where their artists lived in, and they all developed themselves.
Yes.
Artists. And they used to do that, the same thing in the studio system in Hollywood. They used to develop their actors and actresses, and they may be in 5 or 10 movies before they actually had their breakout role. They don't anymore. Now they expect people to come and spend their own money, taking their own acting classes and work their butt off and come fully formed. And so, I mean, to say that he's a plant, it just sounded to me like someone said he has the work ethic, he has the looks, he has everything that we need to make him a star. So let's invest.
I like that you said that, Larry. I really yeah.
Right.
Go ahead, Lamar.
100%. No, I'm just saying what Larry said is 100% true, and you guys are going to hear me say this all the time. It's not just Hollywood; it's pretty much any industry, And you can in some cases call that a form of nepotism. Go ahead, Moochie.
Can I? Oh, go ahead.
Only thing they have changed now is that they use social media to pick their people better now.
100%.
So if they see somebody has a good following, like I don't know how they made this girl famous, Sexy Red, because it seemed like they scraped the bottom of the barrel to get somebody like her. They don't have etiquette school for these artists. So now you're getting the most raunchiest people that come on here and they're influencing our younger people, which somebody like that should not have a platform to be influencing people up into the thousands. When you're promoting lip gloss that's STDs, the flavors of STDs. So you're not even showing kids how to protect themselves. They just going rampant. But back in the day, in the 90s, they did have etiquette school for these artists to show them how to talk to the media, to show them how to carry themselves. They don't do that anymore. And you have these people just running amok, doing stuff that you don't want your children to do. But what happens when they see it? It's everywhere.
It's crazy. They don't have the same artists in development anymore. I'm telling you, all these new artists need to go to the Matthew Knowles training school. When I tell you what Matthew Knowles did, take away how you feel about him, Beyonce, that's his shot. Take away what you feel. What he did for those children is similar to, you can, and again, controversial person, Joe Jackson.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, the way he trained those girls, Beyonce's work ethic and professionalism is because of her father. Interview train, the way they would even interview. You can go pull up clips from 1998. You never caught them slipping, not in one time. But you look at Britney Spears people, and they had that poor girl at 18 answering questions if she was a damn virgin.
Yeah.
It's about you're trained, who's on your team, and these kids now, these young artists now, is like, it's despicable.
Monique, here's the problem with that is that, like, people talk about Joe Jackson and Matthew Knowles and I forgot the guy's name that started it, New Edition, and the other guy. There was another white dude who ran, I think it was NSYNC and some other bands.
Yep.
But the problem is that you have to take children and impose upon them an adult work ethic.
Yes.
And children are not generally designed by nature to have an adult work ethic. And so when you impose it on them, oftentimes what you end up with is an abusive situation. Now, they end up being great artists, and they end up being, growing up and being really great and integrating into the adult world as they become adults, if they're not drugged out as a consequence of their abuse. But they also have to carry the trauma of being abused all those years, and a lot of people are like, that's just simply not right. And so I know that I think these artists, they need the labels and the studios need to take the time and the effort and the money to invest in young artists. They just don't want to do it anymore because everybody's worried about fast returns, and it's cheaper to find people that are already fully formed, whether they're fully formed because they spent the time and energy and effort to do it themselves, or because they're just naturally gifted, or whatever. It's cheaper to find people that are ready to go from jump than it is to actually develop the artist.
Yeah. All right, Moochie,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Larry.
I did want to say one last thing about the whole thing with Katt Williams and Shannon Sharpe. There was something that was interesting that he said. When Katt Williams said that was the question you were supposed to ask him. That's the problem when you have someone like Shannon Sharpe doing these types of interviews, is that he's not a trained reporter. He's not a trained journalist. He's someone who was an athlete, and so as a consequence became a commentator, and then found other places for himself on TV, and now he's doing his podcast, which is highly entertaining, but he has access because of who he is, not necessarily what he is. And because of that, he's not Barbara Walters, he's not Oprah Winfrey. He's not one of these other fantastic reporters who they know that when someone says something, immediately their bells are going off like, oh, I have 5 follow-up questions. I'm going to get in on this particular question. Instead, what he did was he lets people come on, say things, and then he moves on to the next subject. He doesn't follow up on them. And
Larry, I hear you.
I
do hear you, Larry. I do hear you. My only thing with that specific situation, and I think what's the man's name?
Shannon Sharpe.
Shannon
Sharpe was trying to defend himself in that moment. He's like, look, the guy is telling his story. Shannon doesn't have the information to then challenge what Ricky Smiley was saying. Only someone who knows behind the scenes information could say, wait a second, that's not how the story, for him, all he can do is take what the person's telling him. He's thinking this is firsthand information, hot off the press, first time being exposed in an interview type of thing. He didn't really know to challenge what Ricky Smiley was saying. Only someone with knowledge, behind the scene knowledge, could have done that. In my opinion.
I have to disagree with you Only because having worked as a journalist for a number of years, and granted, I'm a photographer, but I'm not asking the questions, but I have sat next to and sat behind filming and shooting photos of really talented, experienced journalists, and they can walk into a situation where they know not the entire picture. And they're asking the questions to flush out the entire picture. And when someone gives them a bit of information, part of their job is to ask more questions, to expound on that. Give me more information about what you said. And if someone says something controversial, you jump on that and you ask more questions to figure out if what they're saying really makes sense or if they're just talking a bunch of hogwash. And I think that's one of the problems when you don't have someone who is an experienced journalist. Shannon Sharpe has been on TV for a long time. He's comfortable, but he's not an actual journalist. And I think he would be well served to actually spend some time honing those skills. I don't think it's something he can't do. It's just something that he needs to take the time to learn how to do. It's like Lamont's a writer. He's taking acting classes. So when an actor comes to him and says, hey, this doesn't make sense to me, he has a place of understanding to know where this actors come from. You have to know your craft. If you're going to be in this position, you have to know the craft.
Moochie, you get the last word.
I was going to say this. If as far as the parents, they all had good work ethics. And even Serena and Venus' father, he let them know, look, you're not going to ask her that question or you're not going to talk to her to make her feel this way. They show interviews with that. So it all goes with the parents. Now, if your parents is dropping you off and just letting Hollywood take care of you, y'all seen the results.
Exactly.
You have to be a helicopter mom or some type of man to be feared with, where they not going to mess with your kid if you are bringing up a child in Hollywood.
I agree.
Now, as far as the questions with Shannon Sharpe and Katt Williams, maybe he didn't know those things, but you supposed to have people on your team to be like, this is the reason why they got this kind of beat. This is the reason why he has so much animosity, because back in 19 so-and-so, blah, blah, blah happened. So he got to have more people that's digging through facts and stuff like that. Otherwise, I thought the interview was good. We're talking about it here today. So he uncovered some good things, and now it's people responding. You got Ricky Smiley rebuttaling stuff in the shade room. So I want to see where this is going.
Yeah.
So now you being exposed and pulled out as a liar. Now you're gonna backpedal and drop it like it's hot to tell your story that you're not. I was getting ready to say pee popping, but I don't want to say it. But anywho, they're all getting called out for their things. They all blackballed this dude, but at the end of the day, let's go do comedy. I'll bust all y'all asses. And Katt letting them know.
But you can't blacklist Katt Williams, because before Katt Williams was even doing Hollywood movies, he already had a cult following. People love him.
I agree with you. That's why I said the statement. Come to the stage and do your routine, and I bet you I'll dust all y'all. And Katt let them know.
I mean, let
them know you can't compete with me out here on the stage doing comedy. That's why you're doing this. Everything he said was right. Even Bernie Mac said that Steve Harvey went into the Ocean's 11 thing, wondering why he wasn't casted for that role, and Bernie Mac was. So all of his stuff he's saying is facts to it.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to hear from you guys. Shout out to early morning people checking me out. We've got 135 people before noon. And I know y'all ain't having no drinks. We appreciate it. And what we're gonna do, because for what Katt Williams said, we need to hear rebuttals. Because a lot of people have come out with rebuttals. Michael Blackston came out with a rebuttal. Cedric the Entertainer has come out. We're waiting on Steve and Fat Liar Faison Love. We gotta hear what he's gonna have to say. So
Kevin Hart threw a little shade, subliminal shade too. I peeped it earlier.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, if I get the time on Saturday to do a Black News show number 12, I'll come back with the rebuttals. If not, we'll follow up on Tuesday. Next thing we're going to cover is a movie coming out next week that a lot of people are conspiracy folks now. Y'all know my sister Moochie loves to keep her ears to the street on conspiracies. Produced by Jay-Z, called The Book of Clarence. And a lot of people are saying Jay-Z is trying to say he's anti-Christian, blah, blah, blah. We're going to talk about it and figure out if you're going to go see it. I'm going to show you a quick clip of the trailer, read you the synopsis, and then we'll give the floor to Larry first on this one.
I'm Clarence. Where I'm from, you fight to survive. I'm not a bad person, just playing the cards I was dealt. Mom, one day I'm gonna get you out of here. I have a plan.
What are we doing here?
Jesus lives there.
Hallelujah, baby.
I want to be like that in 10 years.
I want to be like.
Larry, let me read you the synopsis real quick, my brother.
Okay.
So, let's see here. My eyes still work good. The premise of this story is a struggling down on his luck man named Clarence, living in AD 29, Jerusalem, looks to capitalize on the rise of Jesus Christ by claiming to be a new Messiah sent by God in an attempt to free himself of debt and start a life of glory for himself. Played by Lakeith Stanfield and other known actors that in this thing are people I really like. You've got James McElroy, he's in it. Benedict Cumberbatch is in it. Let's see here. Anna Dopp is in it. RJ Kleider is in it. And a whole host of other actors. Tiana Taylor, too, who I'm a fan of. She's in it. So, Larry, I don't know if you've researched this thing or seen what it's about, but just watching the trailers, hearing the synopsis, what do you think? Will you see it?
It looks interesting. I'll be honest with you, man. After that whole photo shoot with Lakeith Stanfield, I'm not the biggest fan anymore. I feel like the brother sold out with the whole fishnets and pumps and all that. I just,
Wait a minute. You wouldn't be saying that what Katt Williams said has some truth in it, would you?
I guess I might be, but I'm not the biggest fan after that. I just, the Bible talks about people. Yeah, I might watch it. The Bible talks about, it talks about fake, people with worshiping fake gods and fake deities and people claiming to be something they're not, false prophets and all that. So to have a story about basically a person who's a false prophet, it doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. I don't think this is supposed to be historical, but if it is, it doesn't seem like it's out of the realm to have somebody that's a false prophet. It's interesting to make a movie about one, but it's just, it's one of those things though. It's for me, I know this is going to sound terrible, but I prefer not to know my artist much anymore. It's not that these people are my heroes, but they have a saying, don't ever meet your heroes. Just don't do it. It will disappoint you. It will change the way you think about them. And I guess I feel the same way to some degree about my artists, because the more I learn about them as regular people, the less I want to enjoy their work. Like, I don't want to know the terrible things that my accountant or my dentist are getting up to in their personal life. I just want to know that they're good at their job, But when you start finding out all their personal stuff, you're like, I don't support that. And as a consequence, I don't want to support you.
Wow.
So you want to eat the meat, but you don't want to see it being slaughtered.
Yeah. I guess so.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, I don't want to see how the sausage is made.
You don't want to see how the sausages is made. You just want to enjoy it.
I just want to enjoy it. And I have to be honest about that, because if I'm looking at the situation and I see, okay, this person is beating on his wife, or this person hasn't paid their child support in the last 6 years, how do I go to a movie and enjoy something knowing that my money is going to support that behavior? How do I do that?
Heard that.
So,
Monique,
I mean, on some degree, ignorance is bliss.
what do you think, Monique? Are you going to give this a shot? You going to see it? How do you feel about the Book of Clarence dropping on January 12th?
It's not really my thing per se. It's not something that I would be running to the theaters to see. I'm kind of just gonna wait to see what the reviews are, and then I'll go from there. But honestly, I can probably wait until it streams. Be honest.
Wow.
Yeah.
Short and sweet. Moochie, what do you got to say?
If it's playing in the movies, I'm not going. I will wait till this come on later on. But not me going to the movies to see this. Nah, I can't see me doing it. And if it's on where I gotta pay for it, I'm not paying for it. I mean, if it comes across something, I'll watch clips and stuff like that. But I will be honest with you, I wasn't looking forward to seeing this.
Wow. Hey, nothing wrong with that.
Can I address? Okay, go ahead. I just want to address something that like Larry said, and then that someone put in the comments, and I want to know. I just want to say something, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
So Larry brought up, a good point of like not wanting to like know about the artist. Let's go back in the day where it was, you didn't really know too much. The good old days. And someone said, basically separate the art from the artist. For example, R. Kelly. Now, for me, the reason why I can't separate the art from the artist when it comes to R. Kelly is because you have to look at the content of his music, and you have to look at what he went to jail for. You know what I'm saying? If all his music was I believe I can fly, that'd be different. But we're talking about an artist who was talented. I will never take away his talent from him. But we're talking about an artist who spoke about like sexual music and sex and intimacy. And when we were listening to it, we had no idea he was talking about little girls. So my issue with that is I can't listen to his music the same anymore because I know what he's done and who he was being intimate with. So for me, I can't separate the art from the artist in the same way I can do a Kanye, for example. A little bit different. You know what I'm saying? R. Kelly for me is a little bit controversial to say, oh, if you can separate the art from the artist when we're talking about the content of his music. Do y'all see where I'm coming from, or am I on an island by myself?
He wrote for other people. He wrote for a whole bunch of other people. That songs.
He did.
Wait a minute. I'll let you. He wrote songs that other people talk about. Look, I'm not siding with him, but I want y'all to have the same energy when Jay-Z get called out. I want everybody right here to have that same energy when they be saying all the bad stuff that's gonna get uncovered. I'm telling y'all, everybody's about to be exposed.
Hold on.
I didn't say same energy.
Hold on. I didn't say I'm above it. I just said
I didn't say you said it. I'm just saying have the same
example. For example, I feel like everybody, listen, I'm a realist, okay? Everybody's going to have an artist who, despite what they've done, the bad that they've done, they're still going to rock with. For me, he's a freaking nut, and I don't agree with him 90% of the time. But for me, Kanye West is that artist. I grew up on Kanye West. I've been listening to him for 20 years. I think he's like one of the best rappers for me. It's hard for me to cut off Kanye West music, right? I'm owning that. Whether that makes me a bad person or not, it is what it is. That's for you to judge. But I'm telling you, my guilty pleasure is still listening to Kanye West music. What I'm simply saying is, for me, the separation of art from artists is harder to digest when it comes to R. Kelly because of the nature of it. You get what I'm trying to say? I'm guilty of it too, but I'm just saying when it comes to R. Kelly, it's hard for me to separate it because I can't listen to Bump and Grind and know that he was effing 16-year-old girl. That's all I'm saying is the content.
I'm not saying I don't agree with you. I'm just saying have the same energy for everybody.
I'm not gonna have this. I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you right now. I'm owning it right now. I'm going to be a hypocrite if some shit come out tomorrow about Jay-Z and Beyonce. Unless we're talking about child abuse and essay, and unless that,
I want you to have the same.
I'm not gonna have this. I'm telling you right now, I'm not having the same energy. I'm owning up to you that I'm going to be a hypocrite. I'm still effing with Beyonce and Jay-Z. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Moochie, last word. Go ahead, Larry. Then Moochie, then I'll get the last word on this one.
Can I just, Monique, this is not a knock at you. I just want to say that I know from a point of language, I know people often shorten sexual assault and say SA, and I hate that because I think it minimizes what it is. I think it takes away the sting of actually talking about what it is. And when someone
the only reason they do that, Larry, is because these platforms try to demonetize you for saying it.
Well, it should be said. And I guess if that's the only way to get past it so they can talk about it, then I guess that's what has to be done. But I think that if someone is a sexual assaulter or someone's a victim of sexual assault, the words should be used because people need to understand how horrible it is, and they need to be reminded of it.
I did it because I'm on someone else's platform, and they're always warning me about how strict YouTube is. I'm not like the big leagues like them, so I still curse and say stuff on my channel. But out of respect of being on his channel, I said it because, and I want to address. I'm trying to figure out why I'm being judged in the comments. I'm keeping it a buck.
Monique,
I'm just saying.
Don't worry about that. Your opinion is your opinion.
No, but I'm trying to say, aren't we all guilty of liking an artist? No, I'm just asking a question.
Wait, Monique's the new Larry. Monique's the new Larry.
Don't worry about it.
Monique,
don't worry about it.
I got to mute this shit. Monique, this what I'm saying is directed to you. New rules on my channel. Do not address the chat until the very end. I don't care if they say your mama has a head like a horse and a rump roast that has been plastically made in Beverly Hills. Ignore them. We saved them for the end. We have a segment for them. Other thing, I just want you, Monique, give people some time. I've had this discussion with Larry. Whenever there is a pause for quietness, you don't have to jump in and take it, because I'm going to make sure everybody gets a chance to rebuttal and come back. We want to keep our conversations as professional as possible and represent a good brand as professionally as we can without people saying we're talking over each other. We have no discipline when it comes to what people say in the comments. So that's all I'm going to say to you, and I'm going to let you say what you need to say.
I'm asking y'all a question. From an intellectual standpoint, as human beings, keeping it real with each other, in our entire life, have we not everybody have had an artist, an actor, a whoever who has done controversial things, have been critiqued, different things, and deep inside we're like, you know what, they did this bad thing, I don't like it, but I still like their work. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And that's all I said when I said if Jay-Z and Beyonce do something tomorrow, with the exception of certain things, because I have morals, with the exception of certain things, and y'all can figure out what those certain things are, with that exception of those type of things, if they hit the blogs tomorrow because they treated their assistant bad or they were cussed out their dancers, whatever it is on that type of level, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm still going to enjoy Jay-Z's music. I'm still going to enjoy Beyonce's music. I'm asking y'all, do y'all in y'all's lifetime, do y'all have an artist, a person, an actor where it's like that? Am I crazy? Am I on an island by myself because I said that?
No, I don't think you're on. Go ahead.
No,
you go ahead. I'm gonna go last.
I don't think you're on an island by yourself. I think that there are certain things that people do, as you said, that it's a red line for you. That's the line in the sand. And if they do those things, then you're not going to support them as artists. I mean, for me, I remember years ago, we're probably talking like 25 years ago, I was in a club shooting photos and I saw this woman that was the young lady, probably 22, 23 years old, very excited to see Michael Epps. He came in and he smashed a bottle over her head. And I've never heard anybody talk about it in the media. You know, they rushed him out of there right after that. The woman was all bloodied up, and I was horrified. I've never been a fan of his work ever. I don't even watch it. If he's on a show, if he's in a movie, I just don't watch it. I generally just, like, sometimes I'll watch something and I'll see he's in it for a short period of time. He's not like a headliner, and I'll continue to watch it. But if I see like a show where he's like the main character, he's the main guy in the movie, the main dude on a TV show, I don't watch it. I don't support his work. Right. And it's not just him. There's other people. I don't watch Mel Gibson stuff. If I watch something, it turns out Mel Gibson has a bit role in it. Okay. But if he's the main character, or he wrote it or directed it, I'm not supporting his work anymore. And it's like that for a number of artists out there that I've found that have done terrible things. It's not that I'm not down for forgiveness, but if I, you know, at some point you look and you're like, okay, I don't want to support these people and this behavior with my money. You know, I'm not out there trying to actively destroy their careers and prevent them from feeding their families, but I'm not going to actively support, you know, their behavior and their attitudes and their belief system with my money.
I respect that.
Moochie, what you got, Moochie?
I just feel like we take down our own before other people. You had this guy from Seven Heaven that was touching kids, and he's back on TV. Meanwhile, he got caught the same time. They was talking about his story about the same time the beginning of Bill Cosby thing, and you see how that played out. We have to stop. Fake outrage. We have to stop being. And like I said, I that's why I backed off the Puffy story. We have to stop when we find and get wind of our people or stuff. We be helping them take them down. I'm part of that too. We be helping take them down, but y'all don't do the same exact thing when it's somebody else of another thing. I give an example. I'll give you an example. Mm-hmm. This whole thing with Harvey Weinstein, everybody went after Bill Cosby. Meanwhile, nobody said nothing about how Oprah was hugged up with this man, and how she did the whole thing with Michael Jackson and taking him down and bringing them people on there, doing that. Nobody talks about that. We gotta stop tearing down the black man with the white man. I'm not saying, and people, please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. If they are supposed to be guilty, yeah. But you see how that whole thing happened with Diddy, and we all jumped on that story because it was the viral thing happening. I say get facts. I'm not saying don't condone people when they're wrong. I said if we taking one down, we need to be taking all of them down. It's not a pick and choose at this point.
Here's the thing though with that, Mooch. It depends on who the person is and how they present to the world. If you're Kirk Franklin and you're presenting yourself as all holy and sanctified, and then it turns out that you have a porn addiction, people are gonna want to take you down because they're gonna be like, you're a hypocrite. Now, if you're Snoop Dogg. If you're Snoop Dogg and you're up there and you're actually making adult content, and then it turns out that you have a porn addiction, not that he's saying he does, no one cares. They're going to be like, so what? It's Snoop. He's making porn already. Who cares if he has a porn addiction? But if you're up there being all holy and sanctified, telling people don't do this, do that, and act this way, not that way, and then it turns out that you're not walking the walk, yeah, they're going to want to.
I just say hold everybody accountable. Black, white, all of them. Nope, y'all don't. We punish our own far worse than the other people.
Well, I'll finish this conversation. I'm gonna finish this conversation so we can get to the last couple of things we want to talk about on the show. Everybody made some great points, some very passionate points, and when it comes down to, I guess the term is council culture or who you like coming up. My guideline has always been, first of all, if you're a celebrity or somebody rich or someone with a lot of money and fame or an artist that's done well, me personally, I know that behind the artist, you're a human being and you fuck up just like anybody else, except for now you've got fame and money to back it, which puts you in position to do worse messing up. So I already come to the table with that understanding. But even having that understanding, I come to the table with a certain line of things that if you cross them, then yes, you get X'd out from my support. And personally, that line is different from person to person. It just depends on what is your line of devaluation of a human being. And what Moochie's point is, Moochie would like for when bad things happen, she would like for it to be fair across the board. And unfortunately, when it comes to that in America, it's never going to be fucking fair. Never. Simply because whites outnumber us, number one. And then Katt done told us certain people are get put on a fast track for success. And them same people that fast track you can also fast track whether you go to jail, whether your perception is good, or whether it's bad. And so at the end of the day, it all comes down to you, the individual. What is your line of integrity, or what is your line of support that you're willing to support when someone does something wrong? Simple as that. And we'll go on to the next subject. Shout out to everybody in the chats. I appreciate y'all. And this next one might be funny, or it could be sad. It's Snoop Dogg. He has been signed to be color commentary for the damn Paris Olympics. Let me show you what's going on with him. And is he going to show up to this shit high?
Next up, Snoop Dogg, the legendary rapper, is taking on a new role, and that is joining us later this summer in Paris. What? That's right, the Snoop deal, Double G himself, live from France, bringing in his own Snoop style to NBC and Peacock's primetime Olympic coverage. Throughout the games, the rapper's going to explore iconic Parisian landmarks, attend Olympic competitions, and get a chance to talk with all the athletes. And we've even got a little preview as to what we can expect.
Oh, wow. What is this move called?
That's an aerial, a cartwheel without your hands.
On that little bitty piece of wood right
Yes.
there? That's what it sounds like, right? Can you explain to me what this is? What is that? What is that?
That is an epic celebration. What are you loving about this?
Let it go. Just let it go. L-I-G. I want to see this moment again in Paris.
You're going to be celebrating with us.
Yeah.
Pinky swears. Bang, bang, pinky gang. We in here. I will see y'all in Paris. Bonjour!
Monique, I'm going to give this one to you first. But it's just ironic all the subjects I'm covering today have a parallel to Katt Williams. Now, I know Katt Williams and Snoop get along well.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll jump on out there and say it. White people love Snoop because he's a caricature. You know, he's that guy, that uncle that walk around high or drunk and just don't give a F. But having said that, I know a little bit about Snoop behind the scenes. Now, he definitely gives back to our community. He's got a lot of things he's doing with football for young men. He definitely does that. But do you feel like this is a caricature pick in having Snoop Dogg host the Olympics?
That's for who? For me?
Go ahead, Moochie. Let Moochie.
For you, Monique?
Yeah, go.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Moochie.
Okay, I watched some of their commentary last year. Snoop and Kevin Hart had something on Peacock.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And some of the stuff was funny because they was looking at different events that we wouldn't normally talk about. And I thought it was funny. So he's gonna spice it up where he's bringing awareness to different events that happen. And then, you know, you might end up getting into it. Just like he showed the horse crip walking last year. So yeah, I think it's gonna bring a funny side to it and get you into new events that they're doing. They're doing breakdancing this year. So yeah, I want to see. I'm curious. My interest is piqued.
Larry, is your interest piqued to see Snoop D-O-double-G? host color commentary for the
I mean,
Paris Olympics.
I watched him during the last Olympics, and I thought he was entertaining. Him and Kevin Hart were entertaining. This is one of those things I think that's challenging for Black artists, and this is not a knock at you, Lamont, at all. But I think it's one of those things where it's like if you go in there, if you take someone like Snoop, you say, hey, we're gonna do color commentary, and he goes in there and puts a suit on and does the traditional commentary, people will call him a sellout and say he's not Snoop anymore. But if he goes in there and he does he's just how he is, and does his whole Snoop Dogg thing, then people are gonna say that he's a caricature. But I mean, what he is at this point is he's safe for white people. Yep. They've known Snoop long enough. They feel comfortable with Snoop. They don't think that Snoop has essentially given white people a ghetto pass. They allow them. They're allowed to go and see a world that they don't generally have access to. They get to hear language they don't generally get to hear in their everyday life. They get to see the reactions to Black people who don't normally see certain things. Black people, in most cases, don't do equestrian sports. Now, that's not always the case. I know my sister-in-law did dressage for years and years and years. It's a very, very expensive sport. And so most people most Black folks just don't do it. And so I think Snoop Dogg, not only I think will he bring in Black folks to watch certain things that they may not have watched before, it also gives white people the opportunity to see how Black people respond, And that's always the tricky part when you're someone like Snoop, because you're not just representing yourself, you're representing your entire people, And white people are going to look at this and the way he responds, the way he acts, they're going to think that all Black people respond to this like in the same way. And that's simply not the case, but that's sort of what's going to happen,
Yeah. So, Larry, two things can be true. And guess what you just did for me? You completely define a caricature for white people. Completely.
To a certain extent, yes. Because he does play a character. So I don't want to call him a caricature. I would rather say that he is playing a character because he's Calvin Brothers. He's not Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg is a character that he plays. No one believes, if you listen to Snoop Dogg's music, no one in their right mind believes that he's out there shooting and murdering and killing all the people and selling all the drugs that he's doing in his music. That's a character that he plays. It's like Rick Ross. People think that Rick Ross is being fake. He's a character. He plays a role. No one believes that Sylvester Stallone is really Rambo. He's a character.
Thank you. You continue to make my point. He's not going up there by his real name. He's going up there as Snoop.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's why I don't want to call him and maybe I'm nitpicking here and just being, and maybe it's just semantics. I don't like to say he's a caricature because to me that has a negative connotation to it. I think he's a character. So I know it's nitpicking. I just don't like that because of the negative connotation to be someone being a caricature.
So that's why I said two things can be true. A caricature doesn't mean it's negative, but people tend to associate it for being negative. But that's not the whole deal with it. Monique, you get last word on it. You've heard some thoughtful opinions. What do you think?
Yeah, it's funny because there's like bits of what Larry said. I was having the same thoughts. Some of the comments, why not, brought up a good point as well. I agree with some people saying. Look, I like Snoop. He's been in the industry for 20 something years now. I can't remember what time frame it was that he crossed over, but essentially he's crossed over to mainstream white audience a long time ago, really. And definitely someone else said Martha Stewart definitely helped with that, I think. When they collabed together many years ago. Look, it's you can look at this so many different ways. I'm gonna bring up 2 points. On one point, it's beneficial for both, right? It's beneficial for Snoop and it's beneficial for the Olympics. Snoop, more exposure for him, more money. Olympics, more exposure, more viewership, higher numbers, all that good stuff. It's equally beneficial. Now some will say, and I did have this thought, it's crazy like how much society uses Black people for their content and for their uh, viewership and
Culture.
for the cult. Like they infiltrate our culture, and our culture is mainstream culture. Black culture is mainstream. It is in so many different ways. There's so many different examples, and some would say we do benefit from it in a sense, but then we also kind of don't at the same time, which is kind of a weird thought. It's a weird thing to kind of realize, but shout out to Snoop. He's been able to maintain in the industry for 25 plus years, 30 years. He's still on top. He's crossed over. A lot of people spend their entire lives trying to cross over to mainstream. So, hey, again, it's in the grand scheme of it, it's a equally beneficial business deal, basically.
Yeah. I'll close it with this. I am a fan of Snoop. And when I opened up talking about the subject, the reason why I talked about how much Snoop gives back to us is because of what Monique Nicole just said. He is putting himself out there as Snoop Dogg, which, like Larry said, is palatable for white people.
Yep.
But you know what Snoop does on the back end? He is damn near helping minorities come up in so many different ways. So he's doing it the way I would like to see it done. And shouts out for him helping put more eyeballs on the Olympics. That too is helping young kids who wouldn't have watched the Olympics because their parents wouldn't have paid attention to it, get exposed to other things that they can do to help them out. So shout out to Snoop. I'm a watch, and I think it'll be very entertaining. Folks, we are down to the other when it comes to these segments called Black News and More. We're to the more part, and I've only got one segment, and then we'll let you good folks out of here for the day. Larry, you get to start with this one first. And this comes from the John Campea show. The original Steamboat Willie Mickey Mouse is no longer copyright protected IP, meaning anybody can use that form of Mickey Mouse to create content, stories, whatever you want. Give his ass laser beam eyes like Superman, whatever you want to do, you can do it. And there are caveats to it, which is going to be explained by John Campea's podcast. Take a look at this, and then we'll get you guys out of here.
This comes to us from the Daily Beast, who sum it up like this. With a new year comes renewed potential for bastardized versions of beloved Disney characters. The House of Mouse's earliest version of Mickey and Minnie Mouse from the 1928 Steamboat Willie cartoon has officially entered the public domain in the U.S. as of January 1st. This means that artists are free to rework those first variants as they see fit without any cost or permissions needed. So basically, the very first appearance of Mickey Mouse in that old 1928 Steamboat Willie is now officially in the public domain. That means you can use it for anything you want. You don't have to pay a royalty. You don't have to get anybody's permission. If you want to make something with that Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie, you are more than free to do so. Now, that's all true about it being in the public domain. It's open for everybody to use. Rob, a lot of filmmakers have made films based on public domain works. The works of Shakespeare are public domain. Things like that. But there is an important thing to understand. And I've been seeing some people kind of getting this wrong. Some people think that because Steamboat Willie, with the first appearance of Mickey Mouse, is now in the public domain, that means that you can do anything you want with Mickey Mouse. And that is very important to know is not true. So here's how this is kind of working. There's a big difference between the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse, which Wait a second. You can see over here. And this, what we now know as the true image of Mickey Mouse. So even though Steamboat Willie and this specific iteration of Mickey Mouse is now public domain, it is only this specific iteration of Mickey that is public domain. Anything that got added to Mickey later is not public domain. So, for example, in this image, you see Mickey's not wearing gloves. The traditional now white glove wearing Mickey Mouse, you're not allowed to use that because that is not public domain. This Mickey was just 2 black dots for eyes. The traditional Mickey we now know as the iconic figure of Disney has the whites and the blacks in his eyes. That is not public domain. Mickey's iconic and his voice, that's stuff that came after Steamboat Willie.
Larry, when you gonna write your Mickey Mouse using the Steamboat Willie? And I let my daughter take a look at this Mickey. I said, "Who's that?" She was like, "That's a mouse." And then I said, "Look at this one." I said, "Who's that?" She said, "That's Mickey." So Larry, to me, it just appears that the only way you're really gonna be able to make money with this is if you say Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie era to try to trick people into watching your content. So what do you think about this whole Steamboat Willie version of Mickey has gone back to public domain?
Yeah, I think it's going to be much smaller of a deal than most people are thinking. I think that it's just a big news point because it's Disney and it's such an iconic character, but I don't think it's going to end up being that big of a deal because for a long time, people who have wanted to create variants of these, iconic characters like Mickey Mouse and other folks have been able to do so by changing them enough. Like there are pop artists who have made entire careers selling art of people's copyrighted or trademarked characters, but they alter them enough that it can be considered a new work. And so, I mean, you look at someone like what's his name? The old white dude with the white hair, the artist from the 60s. I can't think of his name now. I'm blanking on it. Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol did that. He used to take other people's copyrighted, and trademarked works, and he would create his own variant of them enough that it'd be considered a change, and it's art. And you can do that. You've always been able to do that, and I think people will continue to do it. I think the real difference is now is that people can take Steamboat Willie and actually call it Steamboat Willie, and make their own thing. They can maybe make a short called Steamboat Willie, takes over, the world, and create Steamboat Willie as a crazy dictator that's on a mission or something. They can do craziness like that where they couldn't do that before. But if someone today wanted to take Mickey Mouse and change him a bit and make him into some diabolical, third world leader, you could do it. People already do it. If you look up Mickey Mouse variants or Mickey Mouse alternatives, you'll see all kinds of stuff that pops up on the internet because you've always been allowed to make considerable changes to people's trademark works as a form of your own commentary and your own work.
All right, Moochie, what do you think about this? And are you going to write a story with Steamboat Willie talking about his brother that got adopted and the people loved him and left his ass behind, and his brother being Mickey?
I don't want to use this Mickey Mouse. I don't want to see this Mickey Mouse. I'm not interested. Disney got enough stuff going on with people disappearing at the park. So that's my conspiracy part. I have no interest in this. I have no interest in this.
See, Monique, when you
see my face, do it look like I'm interested?
No, Monique, when you do shows with people long enough, you know what poke at them. And when I found this story, I knew it was going to poke at Moochie a little bit. Monique, you get last word. The floor is yours before we get out of here.
I don't really have much to say. Don't really know what to say. I'm not a fan of the old. Was it Mickey?
That's Mickey.
Okay, yeah. This looks like Mickey's evil twin.
Which is why I told Moochie to write the story of how his Steamboat Willie tells his perception of how his brother got adopted and his ugly ass didn't.
Yeah, y'all got this one. I really don't got much to say, child.
Look, baby L is not even interested in this story.
Right, you know it's bad when a kid don't.
L is not interested in this story. So why are we?
It's going to be, the more interesting thing is as time has gone on, they've created different variants of Mickey Mouse where they've colorized them, they've changed them. All these different variants have to be copyrighted, and some of them, as they go into the public domain, are going to look more and more like what we currently recognize as Mickey, and that's where you're going to have, I think, some interesting legal battles with Disney trying to keep those out of the public domain. And
exactly.
And once those variants of Mickey that look more like what we recognize as Mickey Mouse hit the public domain, that's where I think Disney's going to have a real problem with the character, because then you'll have people that have the legal right to really do some terrible things or wonderful things with Mickey Mouse that Disney will have absolutely no control over. And that's when I think that's when it's going to hurt their business and their brand, and yeah.
So for people that don't, go ahead, Moochie.
I don't know how they already showed how he was drawn and what makes them up. If y'all go to any YouTube channel, y'all can see that. Like all you have to do is put that up. So what more can they do with him? They already drew stuff where things look like organs and stuff like that, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm.
Yeah, but if Lamont say wanted to make a Mickey Mouse movie, he would have to go get Disney's permission to be able to use that image. Now he could make a Mickey Mouse Steamboat Willie movie, and they couldn't say anything about it. And once we get to a point where we're entering the public domain is versions of Mickey Mouse that look like today's Mickey Mouse, you're going to have people that are going to do some. I think there's always a threat of people doing nefarious stuff that's going to damage the brand of Mickey Mouse. But I think it also is a real big risk when you have people that say, hey, we're going to make our own Mickey Mouse movies that may now start to compete with what Disney's doing. And then they're looking at loss of income.
Disney has done this with the Wizard of Oz, because Wizard of Oz has been in public domain. It's just that they couldn't use the red slippers and a couple of other things, and they called it the Wizard of Oz and gave it a different name. You legitimately could go make a Mickey Steamboat Willie show. You could and do what you want to do with it, as long as it don't look like the new Mickey. Which, a bigger point, a lot of things come into the public domain. What is it? Not Twilight, but what's the show? The movie series that the lady wrote from London.
Harry Potter?
Harry Potter is going to be in the public domain in about 17 years. So anybody can take things from that version of Harry Potter and make movies.
Oh. How old does it have to be in public domain?
I'm not 100% sure about that, to be honest with you. I mean, it depends on, I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, you can go and renew some of that stuff if you want to with the Copyright Office, but you would have to check. I'm not sure. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one super chat that I will read, and then we'll let y'all go and have your Thursday. Tareen Rain Reloaded said, and appreciate the $10 super chat for supporting us that much. Remember the For Shizzle My Nizzle era. That was their introduction for them to snoop mainstream, wise forgetting he had been out for over a decade before he started doing that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Martha Stewart got him the seal of approval. Once he did that show with her,
yeah,
that's when he was like out of the stratosphere.
I think it was sort of the other way around. I think it was Snoop that gave her the seal of approval, because if you remember, Martha Stewart had come out of prison, and I think it was Snoop that sort of said, hey, it's okay to like someone that that you may look at as a criminal. Because I remember they were on a talk show once, and the host was saying, who did this, who did that, and they named
She's
all
an
these
actual
things.
convicted felon, and he's not.
They did. They said who's a convicted felon and who's not. They did this, and they said all these things, and people just thought it was Snoop for all this, and they were like, nope, that was all Martha. I mean, I think they both helped each other's careers. Obviously, they helped.
I agree.
She helped Snoop get introduced to a new audience, and I think he did the same for her.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. He gave Martha street cred that she wouldn't have had.
He did.
Exactly.
He gave her street cred, but more importantly, I think he helped rehabilitate her career, because I think she was on a downward trajectory after that, and I think he helped keep her career alive and then move it forward in a way that I don't think she could have done on her own at that time.
I agree with you, Larry, because she would have been just like Paula Dean.
Yeah. Maybe a little bit in the Paula Dean, because Paula Dean was on some racist crap, so I think.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying she didn't do the minus the racist stuff. That's why she got accepted.
And I feel like if you go on some racist stuff, the only way that your career recovers from that is if you fully embrace it
and do an apology tour.
No, you don't have to do apology. Just fully embrace. Like you look at Kid Rock. Kid Rock has gone on some racist stuff, and instead of trying to say, I'm sorry I said something, please take me back into your good graces, he's just fully embraced it and went the whole Trump route. And and it's working for him.
If you want to be a racist, just hang out with Trump, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And we'll pin it right there. Thank you all for tuning in midday. Please continue to support us when we do our Black entertainment news and more. I'll be running special guests here and there. Don't forget to like the video, comment, subscribe. Check out everybody that came on the show. Their links is in the video description. And until that next Sex is Hell video, we out.